Hey everyone, let's get into it. Today I want to go over an example of something I wish I knew much earlier, and we're talking probably a decade ago in terms of using a feature in Excel to append data to one another. With that, I have multiple years of DC data already downloaded. I'll link to the data portal you see in front of you. What's cool about DC is they have the same headers across multiple years, making it easier to combine data sets spanning a decade or more. They go back to early 2000s. So rich data set in there. There's always some intricacies and details in the data. But with that, I truly want to go over how to append data in Excel. So I have already downloaded 7 years of this data. You can get current if you want to do that. I'll link to it in the video. With that, I've already loaded 6 years of data. So I'm going to walk through how I loaded these within Excel. To do that, I've primarily used the data function here. So you can choose get data from CSV. That's what this data is originally downloaded as. There's other options when you click get data. Depending on where you have data stored, you have a lot of options nowadays, cloud being one of those, which is pretty handy. But to walk through, I'm going to grab it from a text CSV, bring in calendar year 2023. When it comes up, you have the option to transform data, and I'll show you a couple examples of what you can do with this option here once we append all the data together. But for now, I'm just going to load it. And here at the bottom now, you see that we have 7 years of data. Across all of these, they have similar headings across the top. That makes it easier to combine these. Of course, you can do a copy and paste across Excel tables. Introduces a bit more human error in that, so you will want to take a bit more caution with that. Tons of other software. Again, this is just something I wish I knew years ago. If we come up to the top and click on Query, we have a tab in here or a subsection that's called Combine. Merge and append. We're going to be appending today. We want to append all of these tables together into one. Merge, on the other hand, say we wanted to know if an incident ended with an arrest or if it's still open. That field is not within this data set currently. So say we had a unique identifier, the case number here, that only then said if it's open, there is arrest, exceptional clearance. We can merge that back in based on the unique identifier to get that and join it all together. There's multiple ways to do different merges. That's just one example that typically you see often with how to merge. With that, let's get into appending. Truly just click append. We're wanting to join more than 3 tables. So I'm just going to highlight 2017 through 2022. So click 2017, hold down shift, click 2020. Oh, I have 2023 in there twice, it looks like. So I'll take that one out. Hit add, and now we have 7 years of data in here, and it's going to join it into one table. It's going to append each table with it, keeping the same headers at the top across all of those. Click OK. And now we have a larger data set here that contains all of the years. So if you can see at the top here, similar to other Excel formulas that you see, we now have a table combined that's combining multiple years of data together. You can see our source here. Across the top, still the same headers. We can sort, and I'll sort based on start date. Report date is truly the report date itself. There are some discrepancies between report date and start date of the crime. So if I were to sort based on the start date, we're going to actually get crimes that are outside of the calendar year windows that we selected. That's why I say be familiar with the data to know what you're trying to do with it. You'll have to do some cleaning, some filtering, some selection based on that, but you can see it goes back quite a long way. And it starts heavily in 2016, leading up to really January 1st, 2017. So keep in mind when crimes are reported versus when they started, or have a window, especially with property crimes, you can have windows of when they potentially could occur. All right. So this is an easy way. If I wanted to say close and load, that would load it into Excel as a table. I have 7 years of data all in one table. But since I'm in here, I might want to do a couple things that are very common. And if you've seen some of my other videos, some daytime options here. So you have the option to do data transformations while in here, and you can do it at large, and you'll have an applied steps over here. So you can see that I just sorted those rows. So that shows up over here to see what I've done to the data set so far. Another option is, say I wanted to add a column. I have a column and I want to do a custom one here. And there's multiple ways to do this, but I'll just walk you through this because you have the same ones up here that you can mess with. But I'll walk you through this because this shows you a couple other fields that you can pull from. So I'm going to pull, and let's just do year. So I want to do this, and as I start to type year, typically it's going to pull up the functions that you might want. So if you want to add years, day of year, end of year, Truly, I want the date that is year, so I'm going to click that. Then I'm going to do an open paren like I usually do. For this one, again, I want to use start date versus report date. So I'm going to scroll down to find that field. Start date, they put it in brackets automatically. I still use parentheses just out of habit being in Excel. When I click OK, it's going to see it's adding a custom column. And then when I go to the end, it's going to pick up that year part of the date here. Similar, I can do this for day of the week, hour, all of those date time functions. We had those up here. And what's nice about it too is when you do the custom column, you can see a bit more of the options with it. Let's say I want a day of week. And I screwed this up a couple of times when I was playing around with it again because I haven't used this one as much. We can still do date, it's week, oh, end of week, day, day of week. There we go. So date.day, you can start to see it pull up, and I want day of week with name. So I want it to actually spell out versus giving me a numeric value. As you notice, and this is what screwed me up a few times, when I selected that, it actually kept date at the beginning. I need to delete that so it runs properly. This kept giving me errors and issues with it. So once I saw that, it made life a bit easier when I was trying to then select that out. Again, come down to the start date, double click that, close it off. You can see there's no detected syntax errors. You can still have errors in it, so always keep in mind that even though you get the check mark, it still might not run properly. That's running. You can see added another column over here, and now we have day of the week. So you can do this with a lot of the datetime fields. You can do this with a lot of calculations as a whole, but it is a nice way to do it in here, see a record of what you're doing with this. And you have those other ones here so you can parse out what you're trying to work with across the fields itself. I typically go into the custom columns depending on the software you're using. Some are easier, just write out some syntax for that. But say you're done now and you want to load it into Excel. It's truly come back to home, close and load. So it's truly creates a new sheet at the bottom. It's Append 1. It's getting all the data. So you can see over here, it's building that data set from 2019 through 2023. Oh, when I picked it up, so it's 2017 through 2023, 7 years of data, pulling that all together, using those transformations within it. And now you see there should be just over 218,000 rows of data. And now we have a data set for DC from 2017 through 2023 crime incidents that you can then take, use in whatever program that you want. If you want to map it, I will give a detail of DC crime. So yes, they have X, Y, lat, long. It is to the block centroid. So if you were to take this into a GIS or map it, all of those are going to show up on the center point of each block. So you can still do some analyses with it, but keep in mind it's going to be much more at the block level or street level. Great analysis, you can do it. Stuff you can do in Excel for a location concentration. So the law of crime concentration, everything you want to get into that. Have some old videos on that I'll dust off at another point. With that, this is a quick video to kind of show you how to append data in Excel, make life a bit easier. Until next time, take care.